Welcome to Creating a Whole Cloth Quilt with Rulers, another in our virtual classroom series. Trim the fabric for the quilt top to approximately 30 inches square. Find the center of your fabric and mark horizontal and vertical lines centered on this mark. On the line shown in blue on my drawing, you need to measure up on the diagonal lines. We're going to start out with the semicircle, and we're going to make sure that we're placing the third line in along the horizontal line as shown in the illustration. Now, I don't want you to panic when you see that I'm working on a mid-arm. These rulers are so versatile that I'll be using both the mid-arm and my regular domestic machine. So we're going to start going around the semicircle. Make sure that you keep your eye on the prize and make sure that that line is still lined up on your horizontal line. Now we're going to turn the ruler around, line it back up on the third line. Make sure that the other end is still on the line also, and we're going to stitch around until we get back to where we started from. Now, the entire time that I'm stitching, I'm not pushing that ruler against the foot. I'm just holding it down firmly on the fabric. Now we're back over to the domestic machine, and we're going to use the 6.5 curved and go from point A to point B, as I just pointed out. So we're going to make sure that we're 1/4 inch away, and we do that by sinking the needle right where we want to start. That gives us a 1/4 inch, and eyeballing 1/4 inch away at the base of the ruler. And we're just going to stitch on down until we get down to the bottom. Now this is where the clarity foot is really wonderful on this domestic machine. I only wished I had one on my mid-arm. And it's this reason. I've just stitched that line, and now without changing the foot, I'm going to start my free motion quilting because I want to fill this section in with feathers. So I'm just going to go in, and what I'm doing right now is the bump back feather so I can reach clear over to the previous stitching line and come back. I'm going to clear over to the stitching line again. Make a nice rounded plume. Do you remember making an indication mark on the 4 and 4 1/4 inch mark? This is why. Now it's time to do the other part of that scallop by just simply repositioning your curved ruler to the 2 inch mark that was drawn on the other leg and stitch between the two. And now we have the first scalloped corner stitched in. Now we're going to go back to your straight ruler, and we're going to align the first line past the handles to the line that you drew around to make that 24 inch square. And that's going to give you 2 inches inside that 24 inch square. And if you need something to guide you as you're doing these circles, if you notice, they're about the same size as the foot, so that's a perfect visual guide. And basically what you're going to do is do the circle, go around halfway, and connect and do the next circle. Stitch around halfway, and then go up to do the next circle. And you're going to continue in this manner until you fill the entire frame up surrounding your central medallion. It will really make a beautiful frame. Now it's time to add some texture between the border and the center medallion. When I do something like this, I like to start somewhere in a corner next to the medallion. So we're just going to pull our thread up there and we're going to get started. Now this stitch is called a Paisley, it's called a purl, it's called all kinds of things. But I like to refer to it as the three bears, and here's why. And I'm going to warn you ahead of time that this mantra is going to be stuck in your head. But we're going to do a baby bear, a mama bear, and a papa bear. Let's do that again. Baby bear, who's hugged by mama bear, who is then hugged by papa bear. So it just makes one big happy family. We're going to set the ruler so that the center line is on one line and the second line in on this ruler is on the other line to form an angle. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch from the 24-inch square that we had drawn out. We're going to stitch up to that angle line and come back. Now we're going to stitch over an inch. We're going to take our ruler and once again we're going to place it so that the second line in is on the straight line that we just stitched, and the center straight line on the ruler is on the 24-inch drawn. When you get to the other end of the row, you're going to do the same thing you did when you started. You're going to stitch up to the diagonal line and back. Now let's go around the corner. What we need to do now is to match up those stitching lines. Sometimes it takes a little fudging, but most of the time it works out. Let's keep the straight line on the draw line. That'll ensure that we have a straight line going up vertically. Go up to the stitching line and stitch back down again. Now let's stitch over. We've got those two matched up. Now we need to match up the next line that we stitched on the opposite side. So take your time when you're doing this. There's no rush. Let's stitch up. Let's meet that stitching line and stitch back down again. Now we have a perfectly chevroned corner. As a bonus feature, a tutorial for all the free motion quilting stitches used in this quilt is included.